Morning.
How's it going?
It's going well. It's been raining here in Canmore for about day and a half straight, and almost all of the snow is melted. There's like 6 foot high snowbanks outside my house, and they're like maybe 2 feet now.
Like
Uh,
it's pretty warm then. It's not
yeah, it was like above zero all night.
okay.
Yeah, so just raining all night. It's still raining. Rain melts snow really fast, so
Is it close enough to freezing that higher elevations are getting snow, or is it all rain?
I think you got to be pretty high. Like I'm at about 1,400 meters,
Yeah.
um, at like 4,000 feet or so. Freezing level, I think, is about 2,200 meters.
Um,
So almost twice as high.
no bueno for the ski hills. I was just debating if I should try
It's.
and ski this weekend, but it sounds like that's a hard no.
I think it's all right for Sunshine because Sunshine's base elevation is just about like at the top of the gondola.
Yeah.
Is just about there. So Sunshine should be all right. I know. I heard some people at Panorama yesterday, and it was
Mhm.
just like raining almost to the top. So the
Uh,
Panos elevation was like 700 meters or something like that. So
that's wild. Like I mean, Calgary, right? Not that far away. But blue skies, sunshine yesterday. 18, 19 degrees. It was a great day for a field trip to the zoo, which is where I took the kids. Or I
nice.
went with my daughter's grade one class, so got a
That's
chaperone.
awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool, but no rain. So I guess the atmospheric river is somewhere just the edge is somewhere within 50 kilometers of here.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to learn that there's definitely a weather divide at the edge of the mountains.
Yeah,
Uh, but hey,
very cool.
that's the price to pay.
Is it just like not as nice, like not as much sunshine? You get more moisture and things like
Yeah,
that.
it's definitely like I think a little bit cloudier. Like Calgary is very, very sunny city.
Yeah,
Canmore's pretty sunny. I just don't think it's as sunny. Like it's close enough to the edge that still experience Chinooks,
yeah,
but it's got to be a little bit stronger of a Chinook to get the same effect.
got it.
Yeah,
Well, I guess today we wanted to talk about helium.
yeah. Maybe not energy, but I think very adjacent to energy. If we think
Hmm.
about the implications of helium, its usage in semiconductor manufacturing, and ultimately what those semiconductors or microchips go into in terms of data centers, which are ultimately affecting power demand dramatically. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
maybe we back up
interesting.
because it is an energy story, and it goes back to the Strait. It goes back to
Yeah,
conflict with Iran. I think that's what triggered your interest in a lot of this. So maybe we can start there.
yeah. What triggered my interest is maybe what I covered in subsurface innovation.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so let's go back to it. So the Strait of Hormuz closure with the Iran war, I think the shutdown of the Ras Laffan LNG facility are two components to the story. Being that that facility produces about 30%, actually about 33% of global helium supply in the market. From what I've read, it's actually very pure helium, and some of the helium that's needed for semiconductor manufacturing. And so that is implicated. If we think about semiconductor manufacturing in the actual fabrication of those chips, helium is required in two components of that, and it's in the etching of chips and deposition of chips. So the etching after the die is put on the chip to actually expose the uh, I just watched. There's a really great video on semiconductor manufacturing that I watched, like 45 minutes long. So I'll post in the chat if you want to learn everything about semiconductor manufacturing. Check it out. But I really wanted to hone in on where helium is used in that process. Anyways, etching and deposition of chips. And if we think about helium supply or helium demand globally, traditionally, like the majority of helium was used for MRIs, and now the majority is used for actual chip fabs. That I think that just shifted like I think in April last year. So it's incredibly the usage is going up for chips. And so if we think about the closure of the strait, um, certain facilities, like in South Korea, specifically, use about 65% or 65% of the helium comes from the strait specifically. There's other allocations from other chip fabs, but South Korea is maybe the most exposed here. And so with the closure of the strait, these chip fabs have a certain amount of helium supply, some estimates of anywhere from 1 to 6 months, depending on how fast or how much they've ramped up production recently. And so the longer that strait is closed, or the longer the Ras Laffan facility is offline, the more at risk these chip fabs become to helium supply disruption. And now what's even worse is that, the strait was closed, but now actually last night, the Ras Laffan facility was critically damaged. And so it's unlikely that that facility is going to be supplying helium in the near future. And it's, I think, almost a guarantee that we're going to see helium supply disruption for microchip fabrication. And so that's sort of where we're at.
Sounds like a total mess. I was just looking at like recent charts though for helium. Like it's certainly spiked over the last month, as you would expect.
Yeah.
But even going back a year or two, like we're still below some of the highs, at least as far as I can see in like 2024 and the rest. Because it seems like
which charts are you looking at?
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong charts. Who knows? I pull it up off even Yahoo Finance and so on. You go back to 2022, you have prices that are way above. You go back to 2024, early 2025, prices look quite a bit above. So this is interesting. I think my history with helium, I'm just a tourist, but we were introduced to it, or I was introduced to it several years ago, and folks were promoting it with, I think, a South African LNG or gas find and high concentrations of helium there. And a lot of the discussion or the thesis there was that a lot of the supply in the market was coming out of stockpiles, maybe post-Cold War stockpiles and the like. And I think you noted that some of those molecules have been sold, or at least the stockpiles have been sold off to private hands back in 2024. I wonder if it's an interesting market. Like it's kind of like lithium in my mind. Like it's small, it's super important, but subtle changes in the supply side dynamics all of a sudden drive the price all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's, taking 33% of global supply offline. Like that is, I mean, I guess we're seeing what that's happening with oil, right?
Yeah.
Basically taking 20% of the supply offline. This is bigger. And I think chip manufacturers are probably more willing to pay huge premiums on helium to keep those fabs rolling, right? Like I've heard, to get certain chips produced that, premiums of as much as $10,000 per MCF have been paid when the actual price is like 250 maybe right now, just because they need those fabs to run, right? And so I don't see it being unrealistic where fabs really start paying extreme premiums to keep those, because I don't think they need a whole lot, right? Yeah. And so it's like you mentioned, I don't think the market is absolutely massive. Like what we're at 6 billion cubic feet per year of helium, and what's that compared to natural gas? Like what is the natural gas BCF production per year? I mean, it's going to be like 0.3% of that if we think about helium concentrations that are economically viable. So,
yeah, I'm just trying. Do you have a sense of where all the supply of helium goes?
Like to which demand?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I mean, my presumption is much like power, right? The data centers extended into chip fabs have a capacity to pay that exceed pretty much any other buyer in the market. Yeah. And so if you do see price premiums show up, like where is which pathways get rationed, and if you want to preserve the semiconductor side of the world, what gets impacted?
Yeah. So the second most used, where helium is used in the second, at least historically, the biggest demand for helium was in MRIs, so sort of medical equipment. It's used a lot in labs. It's used for cryogenic applications. I mean, that's part of the purpose for semiconductor manufacturing. It's used in welding, a lot of leak detection. I wonder what it does to sort of the medical imaging community. I mean, you need MRIs, right? And so maybe from an actual policy perspective, maybe there has to be some preservation of helium for those applications, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, other areas where it's used is rocket launches. Not a huge amount, but it's definitely another area that it's used in. Yeah, I'm not totally sure where we're going to see, say, the biggest. Like, I guess I'm not entirely sure how much those other applications actually rely on, say, a continued supply and how much stockpiling they've done.
Right. Interesting. Definitely don't know the answer for that.
Yeah. I mean, at least this conversation is, I haven't had as many conversations about helium as I would have liked, just because it hasn't been a huge part of the story recently. But it is becoming more so. And so I think this conversation, if anything, is highlighting some gaps in my knowledge.
Well, I think for all of us, like when I zoom out, you think about the disruption. It's the headlines are understandably about energy. There's just so much derivative impact, and I think fertilizer is showing up a fair bit, and for good reasons. And that's a lag effect into the next growing season. LNG obviously is important. Oil's important. Helium's kind of showing up now in some of the discourse. Sulfur is, I think, an important pieces coming out of this as important feedstock. It's just like the ripple effects for global economy and for manufacturing and for all kinds of industrial process. Still, I think people are slowly getting their arms around, but there's a lot yet to come, and the duration will also have a big effect on it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if anything, there are so many small helium players out there that are exploring for new sources of helium. Probably got a list of like 50 out there that are all going to benefit from this. I'm seeing acreage being purchased, some announcements yesterday from Rev Exploration. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there, and also to see if we see super majors like Exxon expand their positions in helium.
Yeah.
They're one of the largest helium producers in the world, particularly in the United States, in the sort of Wyoming Rockies area. So, will we actually see some acquisitions here happen from Exxon for sort of these gas fields, or these fields that have high helium concentrations?
Yeah, I guess if it's for helium's sake alone, I struggle with the thesis. Like, I think if you've got underlying industrial process or underlying process that supports the economics, the LNG is a good example. Sure. And just because you look forward, the strait likely opens again at some point under some terms or conditions. Who knows what that looks like? And so you can't assume that these supplies are off the market permanently. I think that's just a very difficult investment environment to underwrite. And so I think that my suspicion listening to you is that there's quite a few different sources that are available out there, but finding ones that can have their economics carried by something else, and where the helium becomes sort of a support or an augment to that underlying economics, seems like a key element to the whole thing. And it'll be interesting how it all plays out. Like, I think there's a couple of these things where security of supply also plays into it, but
yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, I think the thing that makes this less of a short term than just the closure of the strait is the actual damaging of that facility.
Yeah,
it's going to take longer to come back online than just, say, reopening the strait. We're going to see those volumes off the market for, I don't know, a significantly longer period of time. The other component of that is the actual semiconductor manufacturing, which is increasing, right? I think it's yet to be determined on how much that will increase based on, say, the ability to recycle helium. I know most chip fabs are pretty bad at recycling their helium, and so if you can increase the and maybe that's what comes out of this, right? You see fabs actually get a lot better at recycling helium, and the demand might go down, even though chip fabs, the amount needed for chips goes up, right? So
all that makes me more bearish these projects, because presumably the time frame to bring on a net new project is it's probably in the same order of repairing existing supplies. And so you get a market that's constrained because there just is no short-term relief. And then you get all this adaptation on the other side of that, whether it's recycling or things like that. And any new project, maybe encouraged because of high prices at the moment, is stepping into a market that has weaker demand, has different offsets, like people engineer around the problem. And
I agree.
The core sources like coming back on. It's always tricky, right? Like I think these I mean, that's why there's commodity booms and busts, is that you have these cycles and you get all kinds of flurry of activity, but inevitably the balance forces prices down again because you overcompensate on the other side.
Yeah, the engineering component, I think it's very different from oil, right? You can't recycle oil, you burn it. I mean, you can to an extent with plastics, but for the most part, the majority of oil cannot be recycled. Where we talk about lithium supply and demand. At some point, we're going to be recycling the majority of our lithium from batteries, and there probably is a cap of demand that's needed. And at some point, you're almost recycling. Never going to get to 100% recycle rate, but it's going to get up there. The same goes with helium, right? If you can recycle 95% of it, what is demand actually going to look like? So.
Yeah, it's fascinating. If nothing else, I mean, lots of short-term pain in a whole variety of markets. And then what will keep our lives busy is trying to figure out and untangle the effects and the appropriate responses on the other side.
Totally.
So very cool. Well, maybe we leave it there.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Very interesting. I'll paste that video on the semiconductor manufacturing in the chat. And great. Well, one of the longest conversations in helium I've had.
It's fascinating. The more you start unraveling it, there's so much more I want to talk about. But I got to do some more reading on it.
Yeah. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching. Ian, as always, a pleasure.
Always. Talk soon, man.
Yeah. See ya.